future, we can often get carried away with these kind of futuristic visions. And what I think is interesting about sustainable infrastructure is that it might look quite similar. I think modes of transport and other things will change. But if you think about things like bridges and cars, what we need to change is what's inside those things. So we need to have much fewer emissions in the raw materials, electric cars, bridges made with zero carbon steel and so on. So I don't think things will look too different, but I think what they will be made of will be very different. We don't need to wait for the silver bullet. We've got so many technologies and innovations already. We know how to do a lot of the transition to a low carbon future. But what we really need to do is scale up and really deploy those. So for example, hydrogen can be used to replace coal in the steel production process. And if the hydrogen's made using renewable electricity, then the embodied carbon of that steel comes right down. But it's not the only solution. We need lots more investment. Where members are committed to procuring net zero steel by 2050. They've got interim targets by 2030. And what that does is send a signal to the market, to the supply side, and to policymakers to say businesses are ready to buy these sorts of products and to buy zero carbon steel and other things, but we need to deploy the technologies we have much more and at much bigger scale. What we need is a real sense of urgency. You know, we have long-term targets, lots of those have been announced, but we need plans that talk about tomorrow and talk about next year. What are we doing to cut emissions? And that requires new ways of thinking, businesses and governments talking to one another. Last year, we launched the UK Electric Fleets Coalition, which was 28 UK businesses saying to government, look, if you bring forward the end date for combustion vehicle sales, we will support you. And the government did bring that forward. And you can start to see that sort of policy shift is really vital.